Hey guys, welcome back to Sports with Mono and Mono. It's April 16th, 2023. Weather's starting to get nicer in the Northeast, and I think finally winter is in our rearview mirror. So, just an update with Steve. I actually saw Steve yesterday. He was able to go make his son's lacrosse game, and by the way, he scored 2 goals. His son Sean, so congratulations to him. So it was great to see Steve out and about, and like I said, it's been heartwarming for all of the support that we've gotten for Steve, and his recovery is it's slow, but it's coming along, and this is sports with mono and mono, so and it will always be that because he's part of our show. And again, thanks for all your support. I'm wearing his New York Rangers Wayne Gretzky jersey because it's playoff hockey time, and that's always it's the best time in sports. So we're going to jump right into it. Our monologue, of course, is sponsored by Coriano Trucking of Summer Hill, New York. And our monologue this week is finally, I think we're going to finally be rid of this Dan Snyder and the Washington Commanders. Just what an absolute, just a crumb this guy has been. I mean, what he has done to that franchise, that Jack Kent Cook, and um, you know, it really is just unbelievable. But finally, it looks like he's going to go selling this for $6 billion. But look at the work culture is the reason that he's kind of um, disliked by so many people. Not only, I mean, if you're a Washington fan, you just got to be crushed by this. What he's done to the franchise. He actually, stole basically season ticket deposits from the fan base and everything. So, finally he's going to be gone. He's going to walk away with $6 billion, and but his legacy will be just what an absolute disgrace he's been. And like I said, I'm critical of the NFL and a lot of things, but when you have an owner like this doing those kind of things. And that's why people don't go to Washington games anymore. It used to be one of the hottest tickets in town, and now you can't even, you could sit wherever you want. And hopefully, the guy who's going to buy it, I guess, is Josh Harris, owner of the Philadelphia 76ers. So hopefully he could turn that franchise around and make it, for the at least for the fan base. But it really is. It's a good day when he finally signs those papers and leaves the NFL and hopefully never to return. Obviously, he'll never get another franchise, and the owners will never approve of it. But anyway, so Dan Snyder, good riddance to you. You're a disgrace, and your legacy is firmly entrenched as just an absolute bum. Anyway, so let's just give a recap from the Masters last week, and it was again, we saw a lot of things. The weather was just absolutely brutal, the conditions, but it was a good thing in the fact that um, there was Sunday morning golf, right? So it's John Rahm and these guys, they had to play like 30 holes on Sunday to make up for the terrible weather. And he won this. Brooks Koepka was up there the whole time, and I know Mickelson finished in second, but I can't even look at that guy anymore. So I'm glad that. And I did notice something that I did see CBS. They really didn't mention even Phil Mickelson finishing second. I mean, they didn't interview him. This is the whole CBS deal with the PGA Tour, and there wasn't as much controversy as I thought there was going to be with this live golf and those guys playing. I don't believe that they should be playing in this, but that's not a PGA event. But John Rahm is one of the up and coming guys in this game, and I've known this. I had a conversation like 5 years ago with a young man that I used to work with, and we started to think about, who is going to be that next face of golf? Who is going to be the heir apparent to the Mickelsons, the Woods, and so forth? And you know what? For a while, we thought it was going to be Justin Spieth, Jordan Spieth, and Justin Thomas, and these guys, and they haven't solidified themselves in the same way that John Rahm has. And he's an articulate, he's a decent guy, and I'm very happy that he won the Masters. And I'm very happy that Phil Mickelson didn't. It was a sad thing to see, though, with Tiger Woods. We are seeing the end of Tiger Woods' career. I mean, it's just physically, this is difficult. It was painful to watch. He had to withdraw in the third round, and it was just difficult to see. But his legacy in the game of golf is right up there with Jack Nicklaus and Arnold Palmer and all the greats. He's no question about it. He's been the face of golf for 20 years, and it's coming to a close. But you know what? The Masters is just one of the majors so far, and I don't know what the situation is. I think they're going to let these live golfers play in the U.S. Open as well, and that's a USGA sponsored event, so I don't think they can keep them out of that. But congratulations to John Rahm, his first and probably not his last green jacket. So Rob, let's move right on, because I'm wearing my jersey today because it's playoff time, and like I said, I've always maintained that it's the hardest trophy to win in sports, and potentially play, 4 7-game series, and that's 28 games. That's almost a third of an entire season. So, these Warriors, I don't know how they do it, but you got some really good matchups. If you're a hockey fan, Rangers Devils is going to be it's going to be a good series. I think the Rangers have a little bit more than the Devils, but I'm not dismissing them. They're young. I just don't know if they're mature enough to stand up to a 7-game series. But these guys won't be. They'll be back again. But I'm not picking this lightly. I'm taking this that I think the Rangers could win the series, but it's gonna have to they're gonna have to win certainly the home games, and they're gonna have to win a couple on the road too. So Islanders, and they're facing the Canes. But I think when you look at it, it's a great year for hockey. I mean, the year Connor McDavid he had 150 points. It's the first time somebody scored that many points since Mario Lemieux did it back in probably '95 or something like that. So this kid had just a great season, and they got bounced out early last year, but I'm looking forward to them playing this year. And a couple of notable things that aren't, first time in 17 seasons that the Pittsburgh Penguins are not in it. And boy, did they clean house. They fired Brian Burke. They fired Ron Hextall. So they cleaned house because, they have a good team, but Sidney Crosby can't do it alone. And, unfortunately, when you get to the playoffs, you like to see those guys. A lot of people don't like Sidney Crosby, as a person, but he's a hell of a hockey player. So that's going to be missing. But I'm looking forward to the start of this, and we'll get into the NBA in a second. But there was one notable thing from hockey is Jonathan Toews, been the Chicago Blackhawks captain, and he's been dealing with this situation with kind of long COVID. So I think he didn't officially announce his retirement, but I think it certainly was a notable 3-time Stanley Cup champ, and just a quality kid. And I think his run in Chicago is certainly over. And his career may be over too, but he was a good player, and he was the captain of those championship teams, and wish him all the best. So we don't have the Washington Capitals are not in the playoffs either, and that cost Lavalette his job. So you know, like I said, this is going to get you're going to end up having to play Boston at some point. But I think this is the year. The Rangers made all the right moves. Drew, did a phenomenal job building this team. But like I said, it's a long road to the Stanley Cup Finals, and it's going to have to go through Boston, at least in the East. Right. So let's move on because the NBA playoffs are underway, and Rob's Nets got kind of got smoked yesterday by Philadelphia. So that series should be pretty easy for Philadelphia to win. But the Knicks Cavaliers, we talked about it last week. How important is this guy John Randall to the Knicks? Well, seems like he's pretty important, and he had a pretty good game yesterday. So they beat Cleveland. So it looks like I was looking at the roster for Cleveland. I mean, outside of Donovan Mitchell, they don't really have a lot. So I think the Knicks can actually win a series. But they're going to have to end up playing, I guess the Bucks at some point, and Giannis, and so the three we talked about, who's going to be the NBA MVP this year, and really comes down to three guys, right? Embiid kind of I think he led the league in scoring, and Giannis, who I think is the best player in the game, and Jokic, looking for his third. But Denver doesn't really scare me. He is a great player, but I don't think they have a lot. And I think I think Giannis is the best player in the game. But you know what? As much as I dislike the Philadelphia 76ers, I think Embiid had an MVP year. And I don't know if there's some sort of a backstory to why, he doesn't get any kind of MVP support. But he had an MVP year. So, I mean, if you want to if he's ever going to get one, it's going to be this year. He averaged 33 points. So, but yeah, you could see, the Golden State Warriors are not going to repeat as NBA champs. And it's kind of weird how they went from literally winning the NBA championship less than a year ago, and they just don't seem to they can't win on the road. We know that. So I think we're going to have a new NBA champion, but I can't understand for the life of me why everyone keeps talking about the Lakers now being like one of the favorites to make the NBA finals. And I'm like, well, wait a minute. I mean, this was a crappy team all year. Yes, they did turn it around after the All-Star break, had the second best record in basketball for the second half of the season. But I mean, I don't see them, with LeBron James and Anthony Davis. Yes, they're formidable, but I don't see them. I don't even see them making the second round. I mean, they'll win the first round because they got an easy road in the first series, but they do. The league wants LeBron James in the finals. It's just good marketing for them, but I just don't see that happening. And but we'll cover more because that's a long. I mean, even though the Rangers and the Devils they have to play basically every other night, and the NBA guys get 3 days off in between games, so we were so far away from even thinking about what who's gonna make it and who's gonna go far and who's not gonna go far. I just can't stand the Philadelphia 76ers, and I just hope James Harden doesn't somehow sneak in and get a championship after all the crap that he's pulled in the past couple of seasons. So anyway, So another, let's move on, Rob, because Major League Baseball is underway, and the usual suspects are there. The Yankees are playing well, the Mets are playing well. A lot of questions with the Mets, though. Scherzer's missing a start. Verlander's still not healthy, but they can produce a lot of runs. The polar bear, Pete Alonso, is having a monster start to the season. He's hitting home runs left and right. So, it's going to be good. The New York fans see them, Judge and Alonso going through the season, and there'll be a home run watch. Not that I expect anything remotely like what we saw last year with 62 home runs, but and the games, I said to you last week, they are quick. The games are moving quicker. I don't. I kind of enjoy it. I really do. But when you look at some of the, I don't know what the National League West is an absolute mess. I mean, nobody, even the Dodgers aren't even playing good baseball. When you got like the Arizona Diamondbacks leading the American League West, so it's going to be the same teams. It's going to be the Atlanta Braves. It's going to be the Mets are going to be there. I don't know what's happening to Philly. They just seem to get this decimated with injuries. They seem to have all the pieces put together after making the World Series last year, but I just don't know that they can bounce back from this. But Major League Baseball, it's pretty good. There was kind of an incident yesterday with Domingo Germán in the Yankee game. I don't know whether or not he was had this sticky substance on his hand or something. I don't know. But these guys aren't joking around about that. They're going to look a lot more closely at this because I mean, you got to be stupid to do it, because if you do it, you're going to get caught. I don't think this was a spider tack substance, something they were claiming. Excuse me. It was a rosin issue. But you know what? I mean, the rules of baseball are definitely changing, and we're going to find out if it's for the better or not. But it's good to see a good start to the season for the Yankees. Anthony Volpe now in the starting shortstop. Yes, he's getting off to a slow start, but you expect this. This is the major leagues. This is not Somerset Patriots. So let's just be patient with him. And if the Yankees, get some of the pitching, Carlos Rodon, if he ever gets, healthy enough to pitch, and you guys, guys like Germán throwing that kind of a game yesterday, he was dominant. Struck out 11 batters in the first 6 innings, and I don't know if we can expect to see that from week to week, but we will see. And the Mets, the Mets are the Mets. Like I said, they're going to need Scherzer and they're going to need Verlander, because although I think this kid Senga is a pretty good find for them as far as starting pitching goes. So, if the Mets are going to win, they can win while these guys are nursing their injuries. But, it's going to be a good time to watch baseball in New York for sure, with Alonso and Judge, and even, believe it or not, even Giancarlo Stanton is actually, believe it or not, it's been 2.5 weeks into the season, and he's not hurt yet. How about that? So that's something we will keep an eye on, because we know that that's not going to last. But I like I said, with injuries, and this is always part of the game. It's just part of the game. So it's a long season, but Major League Baseball is absolutely underway, and very excited about it. So I wanted to bring up, because last week, Andrew Carolyn, and 2 weeks ago, gave a suggestion to say, let's give some recommendations on some sports books. And I opened last week's with When Pride Still Mattered, which was written by Dave Moranis. It's just an outstanding book. But I also have, for this week, it's a book by Jonathan Eig, last name E-I-G, called The Luckiest Man. And it's basically, it's about Lou Gehrig. and it's just an amazing book to see what this guy did. The numbers that he put up, and they didn't give him a raise, and it's just the story itself is so remarkable that this guy was so humble and he was so good. And he sold insurance during the off season to right now. These guys are making gazillions of dollars. But imagine what Lou Gehrig would be worth in today's game. But I highly recommend The Luckiest Man. It's a really outstanding book, and if you don't know a lot about Lou Gehrig, you will. And it's just was a remarkable, not only a player but also a human being. So I recommend that. So Andrew, I know Andrew also brought up he likes John Feinstein's written a couple of books. It's one of his favorites. I think I remember maybe one of his biggest book was On the Brink, I think, about Bobby Knight. But I have not read that one, but I have read many sports books, so we'll keep that little segment going, and we'll move right on to our random points of interest, Rob. And it's, of course, sponsored by LYNCH Toyota of Manchester, Connecticut, and loyal sponsor for forever for the show. And we thank Mike and his team at LYNCH Toyota. And couple of quick things. So Quinnipiac University wins the NCAA hockey championship, beating Minnesota. So, I've always known that they had a good program, but this is at a next level. This is the first championship in hockey. It might even be the first NCAA championship for Quinnipiac and altogether. But they beat a really tough Minnesota team, and the Bobcats, they earned it. And congratulations to them. Good year to be a Connecticut guy, right? With UConn winning the Stanley Cup. UConn winning the NBA NCAA tournament, and Quinnipiac winning the hockey tournament. So congratulations to them. Couple of other quick things. This transfer portal thing doesn't seem to stop, and it's going on in basketball, it's going on in football, and you could see when guys like Caleb Love, who's probably one of the best players on North Carolina's basketball team, is transferring to Michigan, and then you start to ask yourself, well, what is going on? What kind of money is being paid to these athletes now just to be able to pick up and leave a storied program like North Carolina to go play for Jalen Rose not Jalen Rose, it was Juwan Howard at Michigan. I just wonder what kind of money we're talking about here, because it's happening all over sports. And I've always said that I didn't have any problem for these guys with the nil money. I just had no idea it was going to get to this sort of level. I just really didn't understand that it was going to be, you could buy a player basically in college sports now to transfer. And a perfect example was, when Lincoln Riley took the USC job, right? Caleb Williams went right with him. And, now with Caleb Williams probably going to be the number one pick in the draft next year. Odd move, but hiring Cliff Kingsbury to be his quarterback coach. Good luck with that. He couldn't do anything with Kyler Murray in Arizona. So I don't know if that's a good move or a bad move on Lincoln Riley's part to bring somebody in like that. I just don't really understand it that well, but it's anyway, another random point of interest, and it's just an odd thing with this basketball, right? The NBA playoffs are coming. And this Zion Williamson, I mean, he had so much promise. And yeah, he's a really talented kid. But why isn't he playing in the playoffs? They had video of him doing windmill slams. He looks completely healthy. And when asked, why he's not playing, he says, "Well, I'm ready. I'm just not Zion ready." And I was just rolled my eyes, going, "Oh my God, is this the next Kyrie Irving? Is this the next Kevin Durant?" And just maybe does he want out of New Orleans? I don't know, but I just wonder. The kid's making a fortune and he's not playing. That's what drives me crazy about the NBA. Why is this happening? And it's a point that I just wanted to bring up, because when I see somebody like that and making that kind of money and just not playing because he doesn't feel as though he's at the top of his game, it's a head scratcher to me. It's a head scratcher. So yesterday I was watching. So this was actually pretty cool. Somebody said, when what about when there's no hockey playoffs or NBA playoffs? I watched this thing. It was called Sports Fishing Championship, and this was absolutely awesome. I mean, and I had no idea that they were catching this is big, bluefin, yellowfin, swordfish. I mean, it was actually pretty cool. And they actually had some NFL players, like Dalvin Cook was on there. I mean, when you're talking about catching a 500-pound fish, I mean, that's something. And it was pretty cool. And I didn't realize also, I mean, this is down in Cape May, New Jersey, and in Mississippi and Alabama, these big game fish. This was kind of cool to watch. I don't know if this is, going to be a regular thing. I don't know if there's, if they got rights to, or who rights to this, but I could watch some of this. It's a little more interesting than bass fishing, in Louisiana, for example. But no question about it, it was pretty exciting to watch. So listen, if it comes down to pickleball and sport fishing, I think I'd rather watch sport fishing. But Rob, yesterday was also Jackie Robinson Day in Major League Baseball, and it has to be talked about. It's something that, when you think back, right, 1947, and that didn't mean that Jackie Robinson coming into the league was an open door for all of the black players that were kind of being, you know, ostracized by Major League Baseball, and just wrong on all levels. I mean, I was thinking back, the New York Yankees didn't have the first black player, was Elston Howard, and that was 8 years after Jackie Robinson. So um, he was a barrier breaking guy, and I think it's awesome that Major League Baseball does this. I think it's right that his number's been retired after what he endured, and he just opened up the opportunities for a lot of people. And when you recognize somebody like that, there's no question about it. It's deservingly so. And congratulations. I think his wife Rachel is still alive. I mean, she got to be in her 90s. But when everybody wears number 42. I mean, from a Yankee fan perspective, we always assimilated number 42 with Mariano Rivera, right? But it was the last one to wear 42. But Jackie Robinson Day was a good idea by Major League Baseball. And there was just some interesting facts, and I like I told you, I think Michael Kay did a really good job on the Yankee game yesterday, talking about some, experiences he's had with talking with some of the other players, and talking with Don Zimmer, who actually played with Jackie Robinson. And but you know what, Jackie Robinson was definitely a groundbreaker, and I think it was awesome to see. And I wanted to make sure we mentioned that, because when you get an honor like that, it's deserving. And he really did open the door for a lot of other people. So, Rob, there was a notable passing this week, and it's actually close to our heart because Elizabeth Hubbard, and she was an Emmy Award-winning actress, and she's the mother of one of our loyal listeners. And Rob, I think actually got some comments from Elizabeth Hubbard about 6 weeks ago on the show. She was listening with Jeremy, and I just wanted to send all of our best because Jeremy is a dear friend of Stephen's, and his mother was 89 years old, and she really had a tough go of it at the end, and but she was a well-respected actress, and some of her marquee stuff was on soap operas and so forth, but she lived quite a good life, and I certainly wanted to mention that. There's no other passings notable, certainly in the world of sports, but Elizabeth Hubbard was like a well-respected actress at her craft, and I could remember because my mother used to watch her on As the World Turns, and she was 89 years old, but she was listening to our show with her son Jeremy not too long ago, and that's why it's very notable for us. And I just wanted to make sure we mentioned that her passing this past week. And Jeremy, all the best to you. So Rob, yeah, this is I know you got some covering some games, and high school baseball is underway and so forth. So, St. Joe's is off to a kind of a slow start this year. First time in like 10 seasons. They're 3-3 or something. So I don't know who's going to be the powerhouse in baseball this year, but we're going to find out pretty soon. So this, like I said, if you're out and about, this is a big weekend for my nephew, playing down at Rutgers, hosting Michigan today at 1:00. They play a tough schedule. Big Ten's tough. Maryland, they took 2 out of 3 from Rutgers last week, but we'll keep an eye on them because Rutgers kind of got snubbed last year, as a lot of people a lot of people felt that way, and so they gotta bounce back, but they're playing a tough Big Ten baseball schedule, and like I said, they start the season down in Florida and Carolina and play all these tough teams. So college baseball is exciting, and it's a bargain. You can go to a Rutgers game for nothing, and it's a beautiful facility. They actually upgraded the stadium, so they have lights for night games, that's always excellent for an opportunity to see that. So I just want to bring all that up, and Rob, I appreciate you hosting the show for us on Sunday. I don't know about next week, whether we're Saturday or Sunday, but you can, Rob will send the notification out on Facebook. So whether it's Saturday or Sunday next week, but get ready to enjoy the playoff run in hockey and basketball and Major League Baseball, and the NFL draft is only 11 days away, and we're going to be watching that very closely because, we want to see where Mr. Whippler gets drafted. First, second round, we don't know yet, but, the question still remains, who's going to be the number 1 pick? And, is it Bryce Young? I'm even hearing talks about Anthony Richardson may be leapfrogging. So I don't know where that leaves Bryce Young in the whole scheme of things. But when you have like 4 or 5 guys like we do for quarterbacks, a couple of them are going to make it, a couple of them aren't going to make it. That's just the way of the National Football League. So we're going to keep an eye on that and wishing Luke all the best. And Rob, I don't know if we're going to be doing our draft show this year like we did last year, so you and I got to talk about that offline. But next week we'll give up some of our draft selections in the mock draft world for today, right? So thanks for joining us, everybody. It's kind of an abbreviated show because like I said, you know, missing Steve here has been, it's been difficult for me, and I hope he's back soon with us. And I can't wait to see my grandson play baseball and my granddaughter play softball and all the kind of fun things that come with nice weather in the Northeast. So thanks for joining us. And listen, please send us an email at sportswithmano@gmail.com. I'm trying to line up a couple of loyal listener guests in the next week or two, and one's going to be very, very interesting. It's an old head coach from that Steve and I played with in high school, and he's a remarkable guy, actually. So I'm going to try to have him on the show, and we'll work it out. So enjoy your Sunday, everybody. Rob, thanks for moving it to Sunday so we didn't miss our show, because we're like Lou Gehrig here, right? We never missed the show. So thanks for joining us, everybody. Send us comments, and we'll see you next time. Take care.